Watch Jefferson climbs the ladder. Oh my goodness!
We are live, and this is a Wimbledon preview brought to you by RunPureSports.com, the best in daily fantasy and sports gambling information. And we have quite the crew today. Normally when I'm on these shows, right, AP, we're talking about some NBA or some NFL, but today we're diving into the tennis streets, my favorite sport to watch. And we're going to be discussing Wimbledon, as there's some great opportunities to make bets. And of course, a nice $30,000 pool there, a little higher than usual for tennis. So, gentlemen, so happy you can join us today. Everyone in the chat, so happy you can join us today. If you want to get in on the winning, runpuresports.com. Quite the promo we have going on right now. Summer 33. That will give you 33% off your first weekly or monthly package. So during the show, we're going to be discussing the playbook, discussing bets on the play sheet. To get access to those, code SUMMER33. Rubio, I know that you play some tennis yourself, right? We discussed it when we were hanging out, and we finally got to meet in March. And now, to me, my favorite tournament of the year is kicking off. How excited are you for Wimbledon? And do you think you can keep this heater that you've had in DFS going?
Oh, man, it feels nice. And, yeah, we got to play a little table tennis when you came down. It was a lot of fun. But the actual tennis, that's perfect time of the year for it, though. I've gotten out on the court a few times. Luckily, my girlfriend, she's terrible at tennis, so I get to kick her ass every just like a real man. I don't give her a chance at all. But I will say, it's definitely the favorite tournament. When you're looking at, just the tennis perspective, I love the way ESPN covers it. You get every single match that you want as well. This is just really incredible. And I see Jason in the comment, the serve speed is higher than Sampras. I will say this. I only have one serve. It's a flat serve, and I hit it pretty damn hard. That's my one talent other than the slicing forehand. But I'm loving the fucking tournament. You know how it is, Fred. The heater's been rolling. We're going to continue rolling here at RPS. I'm glad that we got this show together. And it's going to be an absolute good time. We're going to have just really everything dialed in right now. And this tournament right here, best in business, 30K up top. One of us is shipping it for sure. Yeah,
and AP, I'm excited to do the show with you. I know you're in all the streets, right? But you do follow tennis, and one thing you're great at is the strategy requiring the pricing. So, we don't just need to know the players, the strengths and weaknesses. We also have to figure out how to build this lineup. How excited are you for this tournament?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in most of the streets. I donate to some. I would say the soccer streets. I'm a good donator to the soccer streets, but I'm not at the level that, our guy Rubio Dimes, Third and Schlong, Bryce. Awesome to do a show with you, man. These two are absolute legends. Awesome. I mean, Rubio, you just shipped Xfinity again today. Hats off to you. Awesome stuff. I've always had a lot of success though in tennis, and especially these mainly hard court and grass court events. Wimbledon, just always loved it. Back to the Andy Roddick days, used to bet back in college, and would get the bookies all frustrated and stuff. So it's always been a passion of mine, and really, really excited for this one. I think it's going to be pretty interesting, except for the men's draw. I mean, Novak, just the guy's on another level right now. He's obviously hit him. I mean, he's the guy to beat. But I think this first week from a DFS standpoint is going to be a lot of fun. And what we all need to go and do is get these contests reserved. We need to fill them up as fast as possible so that DraftKings is putting out bigger and better contests. I thought we would get a little bit higher of one for round one. Maybe it's coming for tomorrow or not tomorrow, but Tuesday or Wednesday. I thought we'd see a little bit higher than 30K, but I'm going to hop in there. I'm going to MME, and I'm excited to break it down with you guys.
All right, and newest member of Run Pure Sports, Bryce, joining us today, of course, to get access to that content like Rubio, right? You're posting your cores there on that excellent winner. Promo code SUMMER33, and also get access to Bryce's content as he joins the team. Nice to meet you, man. Nice to do a show. Tell me a little bit about how much tennis you follow and the things you like about the sport.
So I love side sports and DFS. I play a lot of college football, tennis, League of Legends, stuff like that. There's just a lot of really good opportunities with people that don't really know the game quite as well, especially when you come to these bigger events. It's like a golf major. So, for tennis, I mainly stick to the majors. But, I'll be playing the max in the 150 tomorrow and cash teams. So we'll have content coming at you from every side. And, you have a lot of different perspectives and different types of ways that people think between us four. So I think it's just a really well put together show, and hopefully you guys like it. And, ultimately our goal is to make money.
That's right. RunPureSports.com, promo code summer33. Yes, I've been a little quieter on tennis this year, but it's starting to dig up. I just took a little break post NBA. Now I'm ready to get back to work, and I expect to have a successful hardcourt season there. So you'll be able to find my plays at RunPureSports.com. And you guys say that you guys all like the majors, and I think that that's interesting because I think you play them a lot differently. Susie and I like to target a value a little more in some of these smaller tournaments. In a tournament like last week's, where we know there's going to be withdrawals, we know the players aren't going to be giving their alls, you don't want to go chalky at all. Whereas we know that this is the biggest tournament of the year. These players are going all out. You're not going to see anyone tank. You're not going to see anyone quit and just, start firing balls everywhere just in an attempt to get off the court and get their check. So definitely a different strategy for the major, and we're going to dive into that. But before we go straight to our DFS picks, Rubio, I wanted to talk to you about just who's going to win this tournament. Should we be making any bets? AP kind of alluded to it. On the men's side, it just feels like it's Novak's tournament. It felt like that before the draw came out, and then the draw came out, and it felt like it benefited him even more. I think it's minus 178, so I'm not going to bet that. But when I'm looking for other players, is there a reason to go against Novak? I mean, that's the great thing about betting, right? We don't have to bet, right? If we say, hey, Novak's probably going to win, but I don't want to lay minus 178, we can stay away from it and target some of the women. But do you think there's someone I'm missing on the men's side that's got a chance to lift the trophy besides Novak Djokovic?
Well, we just got news that Kyrgios is out. He just withdrew from the tournament, but
wow,
you can't pick him. But this is going to be someone that, you're right. On the men's side, it's Novak or bust, right? Like, I'm looking at it. I was like, man, you got to look at Medvedev center. I mean, Alcaraz couldn't beat him on clay. He got worn down by Djokovic in the last match they played. And I just don't see it on the men's side. And that's why the women's side is honestly a more enjoyable watch, because you might have a wide open field. I mean, look at it. Like, Madison Keys just kicked ass in her last tournament, won five straight, ended up winning the championship. It was at East in England or whatever, somewhere in England.
Yep.
Or something. But she's 35-1. You get someone in form with a big serve, an American too. It's always nice to back the Americans as well. On 4th of July weekend, you know how it is. But I mean, it's just more fun to bet on the women's side than it is the men's side, because it's Djokovic. Luckily, he's minus 160. I don't know if that gets you going spread. He's minus 160 on DraftKings Sportsbook if you can lay more than $5 down. So it's up to you. But it's Djokovic there. As far as the dark horse on the women's, I don't really like. I think we were kind of in agreement too. I mean, we'll see how it is, but the women's field is so wide open. Even Swiatek at plus 300 is not something I'm going to bet at all. I'd rather take a shot with the talent that we have. 35-1 for Madison Keys seems very wide. I really like the fact that we can go ahead, see what she can do. I mean, she's a streaky player. She's been a top 10 talent before in the past as well. And she's, when she has that swagger and stuff, it wouldn't be surprising this year. Probably, win a few matches in a row, and then you can start thinking about hedging when you have a 35-1 bet in your pocket.
Right. And she's done well on Grand Slams in the past. That's definitely a player that I'm targeting. Let's say I give you the proverbial $100. I say you can't bet Djokovic. Who do you bet?
Oh, man, that is a terrible, terrible thing. I would say, just because of the way he's handled it in the past, he's been there before, Medvedev.
Interesting. Okay.
Right now, he hasn't been great. I mean, that's the thing. These guys haven't been great in the men's side outside of Djokovic, really.
I mean, he's plus 2150. You talk about, Keys at 35-1, at close to 22-1. A guy with a big serve that's won a Grand Slam before. I think you could do worse. AP, what are your thoughts here on the men's side? And is there anyone you're targeting when you're going to make a future bet?
I mean, it's really tough. I'm kind of tilted that Kyrgios is out, because I think at DFS formats, you had to think that he was going to be heavy chalk tomorrow just with the name value. And David Goffin good grass player, a vet. I would have loved him in tournaments, and I ran some stuff. And Kyrgios, before this news, he was hitting a ton of builds just based off of like odds-based projections, which makes sense. But obviously now that changes up quite a bit. As far as like the men's draw, if I had that same question, I mean, it's just really tough. I mean, it's Carlos or Novak up top, but if I had to put $100 on something, and if I wanted it to go a little bit further, I don't know. I mean, Taylor Fritz, Sebastian Korda, one of these guys, like I would want something a little bit longer. Probably Taylor Fritz would be my guy just because he's shown up and he's beaten a few of these top guys. So, and Matty Ice, if he's watching this, he's just going to be laughing, making fun of me because he knows I'm a homer for the Americans. So, I'm going to say Taylor Fritz, but I don't like the bet. I'll be honest, because I just think Novak's a beast. He's so good on grass. It's just I think the only thing holding him back is a random injury or something like that. Because, I mean, the guy, he can bring his worst game, and he's still going to push these people, his opponents and get the win. So I think Novak takes it. But if I had to put 100 on a long shot, I think I'd go Taylor Fritz.
I don't hate that. And actually, when we're looking at this, we're really betting to make the final, right? Because or to play Novak, because you're just going to be able to hedge at that point because all these other numbers besides Carlos are so high. That Taylor Fritz that you're talking about, plus 65.35. I mean, Korda, plus 35.18, right? So if he just makes the finals or the semifinals against Novak, he's got a shot. But Bryce, we talked a little bit before we went on, and you thought there was a better way to approach betting this and say, hey, right, Novak's probably going to win. There's no value there. Let's throw that out, and let's start looking at these quarters and bet who's going to win each quarter. What bets were you looking at to make before this tournament kicks off?
So following up on what AP said, instead of having to hedge out of your Novak bet, if you end up not liking it based on how he's playing, if he's playing at his top level, it's going to be close to very hard to beat. I like Fritz to win his quarter. It's kind of wide open. I think.
What number do you get for him? I see plus 400 on Bet Online for Fritz.
Yeah. You got Rude, Sinner, Shapo, Fritz are like the best players in that quarter. And I just like Fritz's game on grass a lot. You've seen him play really well against top opponents there. And, Sinner's really good on grass as well. But, you're paying plus 150 for him to plus 200, depending on your book at that quarter. So I think I'd rather take the second choice there. And then I kind of like Tsitsipas to win his quarter as well at plus 700. Outside of Medvedev, it's kind of wide open to me. Seb is really good as well. Murray's the hometown guy. Same with Norrie. I don't think you're getting a lot of value there. So it's just kind of attacking the spots where I think the draw is the weakest.
Okay, and so that's funny that you said Tsitsipas here, because when I look at his draw, the reason I didn't want to jump in on that, it feels like a bunch of the dark horses are in this quarter. And these are guys that we're going to be targeting in DFS as the tournament continues because they're guys with the huge ace potential, right? So, serve is so much of my handicap here, right? So in the quarter with Stefanos, we have Talon Griesfor, who's been playing well. Ben Shelton, right? He's a guy that I like personally. Came out.
I love Ben Shelton personally. I'm just not sure if he's ready to do it against a top guy like this.
Right. But I'm just saying, my point is it feels like there's more landmines here where you catch one of these guys on a good day and a guy like Tsitsipas.
I also think it's worth betting a little deeper into a quarter like this. You could have a dark horse come from this quarter and not have to beat someone like Carlos or Novak.
Yeah. Cressy is another guy. Hey, he's struggled, but he's got the game for grass. He's one of the ones, Rubio, you talked about just hitting your first serve twice, right? He's a professional that does that. He just hits 2 first serves. Christopher Eubanks played really well in the lead up here. Huge serve. These are the type of guys that I would worry about in that quarter, but they're also guys that I'm going to be targeting in DFS because not only do I think they have the chance to win, I think they're going to put up huge ace numbers as well. Carlos is minus 145 to win his quarter. Big names in that quarter are Rune, Zverev, Tiafoe, Diminar, and I guess you could say Dimitrov, right? And Berrettini could do well here, but he hasn't been playing well. He's got Botic in there. Do you think Alcaraz will win his quarter, Rubio? And do you think that at minus 145, that's worth the bet?
On clay, he's just an absolute monster. On grass, anything can happen for the most part. I didn't like the way he looked late in the major. Then again, what was that? The semis is when he went against Oak, right? And he kind of fared. I think it's clear right now that he's the second best tennis player on the men's side. And you're getting that at minus 145 and making through to the quarters. I don't hate it at all. I got to pull up the bracket, though, because I hadn't seen what his bracket in particular was. Check it out right now. But Alcaraz has been someone that
it's kind of a tough draw, right? I mean, Zverev is another guy I'm high on.
Yep.
Another guy, though, he could easily win. Holden Rune, I'd say, has been the most improved player from the Wimbledon last year to Wimbledon this year. Diminar is surprisingly good on grass because it's funny, the first couple of times I watched him, I wouldn't think that he would be. And Tiafoe's really found his form. I think this would be another one to maybe take a shot at not the favorite here. It's just, who do you choose? I mean, I would probably choose Tiafoe.
We didn't even mention, I'm a big Tiafoe homer, that's for sure. Talk about an American I can always back, AP. Hey, Tiafoe is my guy. But I will say, you just look at it. I mean, even guys who had success at Wimbledon with Berrettini right there, too. I mean, obviously Berrettini hasn't really had success this season for the most part. But he's been someone who has had success in the major, and if he got going and stuff. I mean, I don't know. I'm all over Alcaraz on clay, on grass right now. Definitely thinking about, taking the chance on someone else. And a lot of these guys can catch form. Like, you got a wide pool here of talented players who just can't quite piece it together for a whole tournament. And it just takes a couple of them to get, to challenge Alcaraz for the most part.
Yeah, and if you haven't, kind of caught on from the way I'm talking about this, from a betting perspective, I think because Novak and Alcaraz are so highly favored, that it's giving you opportunities on other players. Now, let's talk about the women real quick because I think it's the opposite there, right? Because there's not this overwhelming favorite here. The defending champion, Rybakina, is plus 415 offshore. Sabalenka's plus 500. Of course, she wasn't allowed to play here last year due to their ban, but she's got the game that quite suits itself well, right? And with her win in Australia, kind of shed some questions about the mentality. Of course, Iga, but I have no interest in an Iga bet at all. She hasn't seemed comfortable at all on this surface, and she's even talked about it, and it's made sense. She really struggles with not being able to use a bigger backswing. And so because she has to shorten it up, she doesn't feel comfortable, and she's not setting up the points like she should. And with grass season being so short, it just doesn't seem like something that you can adapt to. Right now, if she was 10-1, of course, we would be placing bets. But I'm seeing plus 265 here on Bookmaker. Terrible shot. Someone I didn't expect to be thinking, but watching her during this grass court run is Petra Kvitova. She seems to have found her form. Obviously, this is a great service for her. I personally love Coco at 15-1. I know there's questions around her forehand, but with the way that she serves, she's such a top player. It's like, 15-1 for her compared to even like a 5-1 for Sabalenka. I'd much rather have that Coco bet. Sakari, she's got a terrible draw. Ons Jabeur made the final last year. She's one, though, that I worry about. I feel like I'd be making that bet to hedge. And another one that I really like, just because it's 50-1, is Pegula. And just the idea that if she got hot, it's a huge price that I can get out.
That's your girl, isn't it?
Quarters.
Jessica Pegula, that's your girl, right, Spread? I
mean, technically my favorite player is Ostapenko. And, she's done well going into this tournament. I just don't know. At 23-1, she had a better price a little while ago before she went on that grass court heater. But, yes, I bet on Pegula a lot. I feel she's really easy to handicap. Ostapenko's a coin flip on which player you're going to get. Pegula seems she's pretty consistent, and I feel like I have an idea of who she's going to lose to because of the weaknesses in her game. AP, who did you like on the women's side?
Yeah, I mean, I like Coco's draw. I mean, that first part of the bracket looks pretty good. Obviously, a potential matchup against Iga, who is just an absolute beast, will be really difficult. But again, when you're on grass, I like a big serve, someone who's confident, and that's Coco. So I like that call quite a bit. The women's side, I mean, Spread, me, I lean on you guys for that. The women's side is always, it seems like a coin toss. It just like much more so than the guys' side. But when you're looking up top, I mean, Ons, she was in the final last year, but it seems like she's kind of gone the other direction. And I honestly, like, she's still up there. You know, she's still inside the top 8 for sure. But Coco's definitely, her stock is going up. I like Iga. She's just an absolute beast. I know we're taking favorites here, but and then Elena. I mean, she's always been good on the surface, but you know what you said there, I guess has me a little concerned. Are you concerned, like, with her initial couple matchups here? Do you think, like, there's a potential upset early on? Because that's something that we can definitely leverage in tournaments for DFS.
I am a little worried. I can't put the comments on the screen, but if you want to throw up Antonio Esparza's AP, he says Elena's coming off a withdrawal last week. She's been sick for a week now. Yep. Not sure about her chances. So it hasn't been confirmed, but the rumor on tennis Twitter was that she actually had COVID. And even though that she's technically better, that she actually hasn't recovered all of her stamina and her cardiovascular conditioning. So that is a concern with Elena. A couple other comments, right? I see Kasatkina 65-1. Just with her serve being so bad. I love Kasatkina as a player. She's one of my favorite players. It's just tough for me to see her finding consistent success here. And also, he said benches 95-1 is crazy value. I don't know about crazy value. It's a complete toss-up because she hasn't played very much. But yeah, Rybakina, that is something we could leverage because it cannot be the player that we're handicapping or the player that the statistics, right? Because she hasn't been playing very much. So it's not like her DraftKings points are going to go down, right? She hasn't had those bad losses with a ton of enforced errors, a ton of double faults, losing multiple games. So she's still going to be projected pretty high, but she might not be the player that those projections are actually mirroring. Bryce, on the women's side, who do you like?
I'm not a huge women's tennis guy. Coming from a cash background, I typically try to avoid women's matches as much as possible on fast serving surfaces. I mean, you just get such value in the men early on. Starting to play more GPP a couple of years ago, I started to get a little more into women's tennis. I kind of like Muchova's game on grass. I think it suits her well at 20-1. I don't think that's an awful bet to make. If I had to choose one to win that's not Iga, I'd probably choose Sabalenka. Okay. I just think that people might not want to be betting Russians right now or Belarusians at Wimbledon. So I think you might be able to get
Why
some
is that?
there. Kind of that they were banned. I think you see a little less value on British players at Wimbledon in general. And, people do play the narrative game. So I'm always willing to go opposite of that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not really too worried about it. They were able to play the full complement of warm-up tournaments this season.
Oh yeah, no, I'm saying I liked them. I just think that people might be betting against it, so you're getting more value.
Okay, yeah, and that'd be fine with me. Yeah, listen, if Sabalenka's on, she could win this. And in fact, if she's playing well, I would favor her over Iga, just on the surface. Couple other long shots that I like here. Qinwen Zhang is another player. She's got a lot of power, and she moves pretty well. If she gets hot, I think that she could do well. And the one that I really like is Madison Keys, who traditionally
I was going to bring that up. I was going to ask you about that. I always get suckered into playing her on grass, and I just looked it up, and she's bringing in some form spread.
If you sort only by Grand Slam, she's so good. She's the player that, Susie and I love to fade in these 250s and these 500s. But for whatever reason, when the bright lights are there, that's where she really shines. So her Grand Slam performances are always good. And then she's at those numbers where we don't need to get her all the way to hold the trophy to make some money. I see Big T's here, and he's really excited about not the tournament, not the fact that one of us is going to ship this tournament, but it's your haircut. What's going on, Rubio? You win all that money and you still can't catch a break.
I know. I see a professional barber. My guy's a legend, too. And I go to Covington. I get a cut, but I'm waiting until July 17th.
Is it something about Taylor Swift?
The whole Taylor Swift thing, if you're heading north here from Kentucky going into Cincinnati, good luck. It's going to take 2 hours. I can't even bet. I can't even go to Ohio right now. Maybe it died off with the Reds just now winning on another ninth inning clutch performance, too. 8th inning this time. But You know how it is. I'll go to Covington and get my hair cut when I damn feel like it, probably before July 16th. I'm heading to Hawaii, so I'll get a cut then. No one wants to have a half-made, half-baked haircut when they're on vacation. No, you get that shit cut before. You don't get it like a month out. You get a cut before, Big T. That's rookie moves.
All right. Let me say one last thing about the betting perspective before we dive into tomorrow's slate. One thing I like that bookmakers offering is you can choose both winners, right? So let's just only put Djokovic in there, right? So Sabalenka goes from plus 500 to plus 815 if Djokovic wins too. Coco goes from plus 1,500 to plus 2,300. Rybakina goes from plus 415 to plus 700. Swiatek, you get an extra 100. She's up to plus 375. So maybe that's another way to look at it. See if your book can find both sides and then just only use Djokovic on the men's side. And that can be a better way to kind of boost those women's outright prices and just hope that he doesn't hit a lines person with the ball, right? Because I feel like it's going to take something wild. As much as I like Carlos, I think on this surface where you don't have, especially being a younger player, you don't have that much time to learn it. I mean, the grass court season's a joke. What is it, like 3 weeks? I mean, the French Open just ended, and we're already here at Wimbledon. So I really like Djokovic on that side. I'm thinking whoever I choose, if I can get Djokovic / the women's side, that might be a way to kind of give myself an odds boost at not much. But let's dive into tomorrow's slate. And Rubio, you're on the heater, so I got to start with you. Before you tell us the players you're targeting, give us maybe some of your overall strategy on how you're looking to approach these huge slates, right? Because for someone who does tennis, right, I got way more options than usual, especially in that value range. How do you approach making a Wimbledon day one lineup?
Yeah, I mean, the last time I MME'd was the French Open for tennis, and basically you choose about, in my case, when you're MMEing, I choose about 7 to 8 upsets that I like, kind of sprinkle them out across the board a little bit, and basically like balance builds, especially here at Wimbledon, where there's going to be a high ace rate. You know, you're going to have got a lot of guys putting up high ace numbers. The one thing that I'm avoiding across all my lineups is people with high fault numbers, too, high double fault numbers, I should say. You have Elise Mertens in her last 2 matches that's 31 double faults combined. Like, you won't see her in my pool. That is 100% certain. But you'll see guys, you know, it's easy to say, like, you know, a lot of these guys, like, you know, we were just talking about Taylor Fritz. We were just talking about Kyrgios before he withdrew and stuff. And, you know, obviously we missed the Isner by like an hour. I think we missed him. He was going to lock at like 7:30 or whatever, but he's a guy like on Wimbledon that I'm just going to automatically plug in. I know a lot of people play him on clay, a lot of people play him on hard court and stuff like that, but Isner on grass is just a cheat code. And a lot of these guys with big serves are, and that's why I kind of tilt toward the men when I'm thinking about it, because like even 3-1, right? You 3-1 with 15 aces from these guys is going to put up a great score, whether it's mid-tier or a stud range. But for the women, this is where I target the upsets and stuff, and that's going to be no different this time out. I mean, as Bryce was just referring to, he says he's a cash game player. He doesn't bet on the women. He's right. I mean, the women have a lot more volatility with it, and a 2-0 set is much easier to pull off than a 3-0 set if you're an underdog. And you have a lot more straight set potential with the women, especially if you're an underdog. So you see a lot of potential here, you know, especially with these huge slates. Not a lot of people get a ton of ownership, really. I mean, it kind of does suck that Kyrgios was just withdrawn from the tournament, because just on name alone, he was probably going to be 20% owned in tournament. So, yeah, I mean, just balance builds across the board. I mean, you look at the 9K region today, I'm honestly seeing some names I'm already crossing off, which is a good thing. You never want to be, you know, just playing the whole board, because that will get you nowhere. So crossing off some names and just picking people, you know, I've been blessed to be on this heater. You know, it's been awesome running pure every day, but a lot of that has been a change in the process too. I know I can love Taylor Fritz tomorrow, but I'm not going to go quadruple the field. I'm going to go double the field. And it's going to be like that across the board. You know, the more unique lineups you have to have a chance is going to be the best way to do it. That's probably been the biggest change that I've made. I'm going to continue with that, whether it's NASCAR or whether it's tennis. You know, just making sure that, you know, the people I'm high on, I'm not going completely overboard on, because anything can win a tournament. You know, even if you only have 5% of a person, it matters.
Yeah, and I see Big T's in the chat, you know, giving you some grief over your haircut, but I think he would agree with this. You need to take a stand. You're going to need to just take players out of your pool, you know, and sometimes that's going to come back to bite you. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to make those tough decisions. So AP, with that being said, how are you approaching this? Are you with us? Are you going to take some stands? Are you going to have a big player field? Are you going to really whittle some of these guys out? And I do agree that definitely, hey, we look for value on the women's side, but I also think that the women can be a great spend up because they can break serve. A lot of times right, Rubio, we watch a match and the guy's being dominated, but the scoreline is 6-4, 6-3, 6-4. But at no point did you ever feel like the underdog was going to win, but they still hold their serves. You know, the guy gets a break, he gets comfortable, and he serves it out. Well, I think the women's, the way more chance for the bakery, right? The bagels, the breadsticks. So, AP, how are you approaching this?
Yeah, so this first week, it's always interesting because you have a lot of the field that will look at like a guy like center, 11-2, but guaranteed to win. And they're going to try to find a way to get a guy like that or a bunch of these like 10K and up, even like so from like Taylor Fritz all the way up to center. I don't like project those guys a little bit like that much unless we have a completely mispriced value. And I think I really like David Goffin
end up there. I don't know who replaces them.
Yeah. I guess we'll see.
Morozon. Looks like it to me.
Who is it?
Morozon or Taro Daniel. If I could.
Is that who's sliding in?
Correctly.
Daniel. Oh god.
Not what?
Yeah, that's probably who Goffin will face. I mean, he's going to be mega chalk regardless of who he faces. So
how do we approach that? Do we stay away, or do we just use it as a free square and just build 5-man lineups?
He's probably going to be, I'd say, 35% in the $20. I'd say maybe 40. I don't really think he'd get above that. And I mean, his chance of being optimal and of raising your floor is significantly higher than that, I think. I mean, I don't think I would lock him, but I'd probably go, I don't know, maybe 50% Goffin, and he'd be an absolute cash lock for me.
Right.
Yeah, because
the slate will start and end with him and what you're doing with him. I mean, if you want to fade him, you can get insane leverage. It kind of depends what the line is when it comes out and who he faces, but I'm assuming.
As Rubio says, if it's Taro Daniel, though, I don't know if it's as much leverage as we'd hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like Bryce absolutely nailed it on the head there. I mean, it really is just it's gonna depend. I liked it better though when it was Kyrgios, just because that's a name and the chalk was going to be on the other side.
Right.
But Goffin's always been pretty decent on grass. He's got to be getting up there age-wise though. I mean, do you guys know how old he is? I mean,
he's been doing this forever. Like 34.
32.
30. Oh, I would have taken the over on 32 by quite a lot. But to echo what Rubio said, one reason I really like Wimbledon, I love, the guys that have a big serve or the players that have a big serve typically do really well here. And Alexander Bublik, the dude's been, like in the past, he's always been like a head case and stuff. He's bringing in some form, and he's a guy that has a really big serve. In this top range, I have a ton of interest in him at 9,100 as well. And so it's really going to depend who Goffin's facing. So, like, do we know if that's locked in, Rubio? I'll have to look that guy up, too, because it
would be the first alternate, but Taro Daniel is a clay guy, and he sucks on grass.
Yeah, so Goffin typically, pretty good on grass, and if the guy that gets, put in against him, we're going to want to be overweight on Goffin. It's just allows you to get multiple pieces up here, and we could snag more of the men's side just because in these early rounds, that gives us a little bit more certainty for sure. I'm always I'm like Bryce in that I'm always a little bit cautious if you're spinning up for the women. I like taking more shots on the lady values just because we typically see far more upsets. They're the ones that people are in Discord tilting as well. So that's usually how it goes. I mean, I guess just off, we're obviously kind of skipping around here, but I see Venus Williams down there. I'm not playing her, but whoever she's facing, I'm playing that person because there's no chance that
Alina Svitolina.
So and Svitolina, she's more of a clay person though, right?
Yeah, she's not really that good on grass.
But how old's Venus? Venus has to be what, like 47?
43 years old.
Oh man. Yeah, give me Svitolina all day. She's I believe she is the Ukraine gal that did very well for me last year in one of these majors.
Yeah, she's Ukrainian. She's married to Gail Monfils, She's 3-1 against Venus. She's minus 227 on the books right now, 8,700 there. So we talked about it's hard to get up for those other ones. You mentioned two players that I absolutely love, and that's Bublik and Svitolina, where I think they have a great chance to win, and I don't have to spend $10K for them. And Antonio was talking about Venus just beat Georgie on grass 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so this –
I watched it. It was fun for me. So first of all, I'm a big Venus guy, right? Because as an older guy, you know, she was like awesome when I was like a kid. So it's like my last link to my childhood, right? But I'll be honest, I didn't think that was that impressive. She can still serve. Well, Rubio's not older, but you know, as you get older, you don't lose your serve when you go to play tennis. You lose your ability to take to ground strokes, stamina, and quickness. But that serve's going to be there. Like, you know, I'll be able to dial up a serve when I'm 60 years old. You know, so but Georgie beats herself a lot, and I kind of felt that's what happened, where she got a little bit frustrated. And if she would just settle down and play the way Svitolina plays and just, hey, hit the ball back. So as much as I'd love to play Venus, I think that you're onto something there with Svitolina.
So my one last comment, if that is, so I just looked at that Marzavan, is that how you say it? He is a clay guy, and Goffin, I've always liked Goffin's record on grass. So I would do exactly what Bryce said. I wouldn't lock him, depending on how many builds you're making. I think like 55, 60%, 2.5, 3 times wherever the field's at would suffice on a play like that.
Bryce, talk to me about these prices here. I'm looking at the top range, and I'm crossing up like 10K and above. Do you think I'm making a mistake?
I think with Goffin value tomorrow being, you know, such a big favorite at 6,800, I probably would not cross off the top end of the range. I know before the show, we had talked about like trying to go mid-tier early on in majors is definitely the cash build. And, you know, typically it really does raise your floor in GPPs too. So I don't think that that's a bad strategy. I think with Goffin opening up the slate a bit, I wouldn't necessarily X them out. I mean, the best play on the men's side is Sinner. You know, he's 11-2. And if you play him and Goffin, you can still get like an okay lineup. What I might do is create a group and, you know, limit it to like one person above X amount. If you want to do that instead of crossing them off, I think would make a little more sense to me. But like, I don't like playing Chapo here. He double faults too much for me. And, you know, over the course of a long match, that's simply something I'm not going to do. He might be the only player I X off, him and Mertens, just people who cannot stop double faulting. Because even if they get a 3-0 or a 2-0, you know, they're likely not going to put up the top score on the slate that you need to win. So those are the only two I would consider off Xing. I mean, Fritz has a ton of upside, but he's not the safest play here at 10-2.
Really? He was the spend up that I liked.
I like Fritz in tournaments and cash. It's a little hard for me to pay minus 320 for someone who's, you know, 10-2. Even if he does have the serving floor that some of these other players don't have. I think I'd rather take, you know, two slightly bigger favorites in the middle, at least in cash games. But yeah, so Fritz would be tournament only for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I would definitely take Bublik over Fritz and take the savings and put it elsewhere. That dude's been awesome on grass. Big serve. I think he has a ton of upside.
As long as he's not double faulting,
and he
can double fault a lot is Bublik's issue. He likes hitting too big serves. He's kind of a maniac when he plays. I love watching Bublik's matches, but yeah, I'm not even sure if I'd go Bublik in cash games. I think I need to look at the build because I had mine with Kyrgios in. So, you know, that kind of
and that's where I feel like there. I would, you know, because when we were going over the slate before we got the news, you know, we knew we were going to have to play some value players. So I've already kind of fallen in love with a couple of these, right? Now I'm like, well, now I can, you know, spend a little bit more for GoFan. But you're saying stay away from Fritz. And that's funny because I was going to ask you Fritz and Coco.
I mean, minus 300 for 10K is just kind of tough for me.
Where are you seeing that minus 300 at?
Pinnacle. He's minus 320.
Well, that's the best line to use. Okay, great. We'll have to update our thing. See, I got minus 435 on Bookmaker.
Yeah. Well, my Pinnacle just shifted. It's minus 375. So
yeah, I think he's going to take money at that
I
price.
think I might have been using stale lines there. You know, even that for 10-2 is a little tough for me, but there is a really good build with Fritz. So I think
Who do
he
you
is
like
playable
better,
in
Fritz or
cash. I definitely
Coco?
like him in tournaments.
Because I was bouncing that around when we were before the show.
Coco for me.
What do you think, Bryce?
I think you can play these expensive girls here. You really don't have like a absolute like nut like Isner type of men's play that you like have to play on grass. Like, I mean, Fritz is a great server, but he's not like a serve bot. You don't have any real serve bots playing on the slate tomorrow, which I think makes it super interesting. In cash, I'd play Goffin and 5 guys probably. I might play 1 chick. If you get a lineup that you really like with a 5-1, that's fine with me. But I wouldn't really go more than that.
All right, Rubio. You got 10-1 left. Are you going to take Coco or Fritz, or leave some money on the table? And maybe there's a top range person that I'm overlooking.
I like the way Coco's handled her second serve for fantasy purposes. She used to be someone who would fault, double fault 5-6 times, in a given match and stuff. And it looks like she's lowered that down quite a bit, which is actually really nice to see. Because I like her. I think that, she's due for a major. I mean, she had all this hype behind her and stuff. And I feel like she might start feeling the pressure a bit. The only thing I don't like is that Kenin has played a lot of grass matches this fall. I think she's played about 5 grass matches. That includes 3 in qualifiers and stuff. So I'm worried that Kenin might have a little bit of form. I like her talent just in general. Fritz is someone who, I'm looking at it too. That minus 320 would have been tasty, Bryce. But yeah, because I see minus 455 on mine too. Like, Fritz is someone where you just know you're going to get a mega floor. I think like 75 is what I would expect minimum. That said, I mean, these Americans do come in pretty chalky and stuff. And I think you can go even with the field, just above the field if you really want. You don't have to get too aggressive and stuff. And I'm probably taking Fritz over golf just straight up because, I don't know, it's this lingering mentality of where, like, would it surprise anyone if Coco went out and double faulted 7 times tomorrow in a 2-set match? To me, it wouldn't. And I think that's just probably the mentality. Maybe I should be looking at prior form and stuff, but it's more of a trust thing with Coco. One name that I did want to throw out there too is just, one thing about Bublik. Was it 10 double faults 4 matches ago, 12 double faults in the match against Rublev too? Like, that's tough to trust. And again, when you get that 1 double or that, just even 5 double faults from in a 3-set match would just be crazy upside. So I'm very curious on what to do with this Bublik enigma almost. Like, he's someone that I'm just struggling. I almost wanted to X out. But then again, if he gets 75, I mean, maybe there's a chance. But maybe with 30 matches, there's not.
If you're MMEing, I don't think there's any way you can X him out.
Yeah.
The upside is too high.
Well, you say that, right? He doesn't have a single game, a single match outside one against, what was it, Coric? With an 80 piece. Like, I just don't know if he has like a true.
But how many of those are grass that you're looking at?
Correct.
I'm not really
Even
using clay results, but he absolutely hates.
Yeah, 100%.
And I've seen him talk about tanking. I mean, I've seen him just go out there and it's like, you're here for the appearance fee or because your agent made you. But you have no interest in even being here at all. I mean, he's one of the worst as far as just being downright obvious about having no interest in it. One thing I would say about Coco, and one of the reasons I do like playing here at 10K, I love this matchup against Kenin. I'm just like, what is Kenin going to do that's really going to bother Coco? She seems like she's like a lesser version of her, right? They both like to grind from the baseline. I guess you could try and exploit forehand to forehand. But at the same time, I always feel that Kenin was kind of more backhand oriented as well. So it just feels like it plays right into Coco's hands, which is a reason why I love her at that price range. AP, I think these slates are won and lost though here in the middle range. And if you want to go, and use what we're using when we're talking about this, we're using the tennis playbook, and of course that's available on runpuresports.com. If you're a member, head on over there right now. It's up, and you can see these ranges, the price ranges, the head-to-head, the odds. But if you're not, use that promo code SUMMER33. Become a member, you'll get access, and you'll kind of see when we're talking about these ranges. They're dictated to us on our playbook. We have playbooks for every sport, but we're talking about Wimbledon, so we're using the tennis playbook right now. AP, I'm on the tennis playbook. I'm looking at the middle range. Who are you targeting here in this middle range? Because I think there's some names that stand out, and I think that there's some names that are complete coin flips. but they can end up being optimal. And the main one I'm thinking there is Kontaveit, right? Where, boy, I don't really know what to expect of her. She's announced her retirement, but she's got a fairly easy opponent. And even if she's not going to make noise in this tournament, she could put up a huge score and end up on the winning lineup. What are you looking at in this middle range?
Yeah, I actually really like that call. How do you pronounce her name? Kontaveit?
Annette Kontaveit. I say Kontaveit.
Kontaveit?
It's like different.
I'm always so bad with these names.
Well,
that's why I like the Americans, Fred.
Even if you watch tennis TV, you'll get different pronunciations from announcer to announcer. So don't worry about it.
Yeah, I really like her, and I like Elena, our Ukrainian gal against Venus. And I know, I mean, someone in chat, I saw someone in chat say Venus got a win over someone recently. I mean, Elena is 3-1 against her, a heavy favorite, fair price tag. So yeah, I'm definitely fine with those plays. The plays that I'm far more cautious on. So Nishioka, 8K, he's a favorite, -140. These guys down here, I mean, there's a few of them actually. They're all going to get some ownership because in those balanced builds that people make, they're going to have that range of salary left over, and they're going to jam these guys in. I like the guy he's facing, Daniel Galen, I believe. Nishioka, not good on grass. This other guy has a much better grass record than him. And he's 1-0 head-to-head. I honestly, just on the surface, I think the reason why Nishioka is favored is because he's done very well in the last two majors, but those were on clay and hard courts. His history on grass is just not good. So Galen, 7,100. I like him as a value. I think he's a really good tournament play tomorrow. So that's going to be one of the guys that I get to. And then, yeah, I like the women in the upper 8K range as well.
Bryce, you talked about cash build and favoring the men. I'm relying on here. You guide me through here, this middle range. Of course, we're using the Run Pure Sports playbook, promo code SUMMER33. But when you're looking at this middle range, I think you're going to need to nail this, to cash these tournaments and to win those head-to-heads that you're going to be playing. Who are you looking at?
I think Kecmanovic and Echeverry are probably the two best men's plays in the middle. You get them for decent value. They're decent servers. They don't double fault tons. Yeah, I think guys like Nishioka are a little riskier. Not a big server. He's not going to double fault a ton, but those guys won't kill you. It kind of comes down to are you playing like an 8K and Fritz, or are you playing like two more guys in like the 9K range? And, I think people aren't going to want to click Bublik tomorrow just because of his double faulting serve. And if you look at the range, there's all girls between 9.5 and all the way down to 8.5 with Umer in between Bublik. So actually, no, sorry, you got Rusevori. So I think that some of these guys are going to go a little over-owned simply because of the lack of great guy middle range players. So I think in tournaments, it's a decent range to fade or go underweight on these guys a little bit. Just because in cash, you're kind of forced into the builds, but in tournaments, you're obviously not. So I kind of like the fact that they're also priced around Goffin on the underdog side. Got Gallon, or like AP talked about, you got Bonzi.
Bryce, what's your thoughts on that? I mean, it has to be because Nishioka has had some really good results in the last two majors, right? I mean, outside of that, and maybe he brings that form in to grass. I mean, who knows? But I feel like it's maybe a slight misprice, or it could be a trap that I'm falling into. I mean,
minus 140 on Penny for Nishioka. I think 8K is pretty fair. There's a decent build if you simply click Fritz, Goffin, and then all the 8K guys. So I think that build might be kind of chalky tomorrow. And, I would kind of play around that in tournaments, playing some of those underdogs.
Two things I liked about the players that you talked about. A lot of times, right, when we're doing tennis, we're not just doing the player themselves, but two guys that I want to go against. Diego Schwartzman. Game is not built for grass at all, right? He's a clay grinder, and he's getting towards the end of his career. Might be a little overpriced by the betting markets, and we know that the original lines is what they use to set these prices. And I do think he's a little overvalued on the betting markets because we know that he's a fantastic player. But in tennis, what I love to do is fade players as they're getting older. For example, AP talked about fading Venus Williams, right? If her name was Jennifer Jones and she had the same statistics, I think the price would be a lot lower, right? I mean, it's the fact that it is one of the greatest women's players of all time. And then you talked about Echeverry, Zapata, another one that we love, especially when they're in South America. We like to watch him grind on clay. I'm not sure how well his game is going to translate here. And we know that some of these guys that use slice well, it can turn around, and so we want to be careful, not to just label them dirt ballers and completely take them out of their pool. But I think you've done a good job, not only getting strong players, but players that I want to fade, especially in that price range. I'm going to go back to you, Rubio. Value, right? Some of the toughest parts, and that's where it's a little different than betting. You are going to have to take some stands, right? I mean, there's days I can just completely cross this off, but we're going to have to find some underdogs to get some win. Fortunately, here we have plenty of short underdogs in the value range, and we've talked about how we feel safe that we don't need to spend up. We don't need to go stars and scrubs. There's no Nikola Jokic on this slate, right? That it's just guaranteed to be so much better than everyone else. So who are you looking at in the value range, Rubio?
Yeah, I mean, some of the biggest things that I look at is form of who their opponents are, right? Like, I want someone who's played on grass already versus an opponent who hasn't played on grass. To me, when you haven't played on grass already to this point, you're kind of in it for I'm not into grass. I'm here for the Wimbledon paycheck. Maybe I win a match and it doubles a little bit, right? But for for some of these opponents and stuff, you just immediately look at the board. Like, we can even throw in Lloyd Harris at 7,500. Can I cheat there? I know he's not a huge dog or anything. He's still minus money, but this dude just an ace machine, and his double fault is just so limited. He's getting 25 aces and only 2 double faults in a match, and that's only in a 3-setter. Imagine if it goes 5 or anything. Like, he's going to be someone that you look at from a floor play perspective or anything, but imagine if he won in 3 sets. Like, he'd be an absolute chalk dong almost. And just below 8K, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I like Dan Evans against Hallis. Hallis hasn't played any grass events. I like Dan Evans. He's an absolute grinder.
Really? I thought that Hallis was definitely worth the shot. If you're MME, I wouldn't even mind going overweight on him. I think
it's the damn British backing, right? I'm going to back the good old Brit person here at Wimbledon, and someone who's an absolute grinder.
The British have a tendency to fold at home. They don't get a home court advantage.
No, I'm telling you, Dan Evans is an absolute grinder. I'm telling you that. There's one guy I can back. If I go down, 2-0 in a set, I'm still backing Dan Evans because that man is a grinder. I love it. But talking about
I would just say it's hard to grind when the ball's bouncing above your head and the other guy's just on.
Hey, we can't hit on short kings here,
Yeah.
Come on now. I'm only 5'9", 6 foot maybe.
5'9" or 6, one of the two.
The same thing, right?
Yeah.
But I also like going against players. Like I said, you haven't played on grass yet. Sloane Stephens is always a player I go against. And so I actually like Rebecca Peterson. I know that she might not be in the best of health. I think she withdrew in her last event or whatever, but she's always someone that I go against, as Sloane Stephens is. And you get a 5,700 value. I mean, can I be the first to say David Goffin and claim that as my value pick too? 6,800, probably going to be a favorite against Marathon. But yeah, I mean, just going down the board and stuff, I love this is where it's not exactly game logging or anything like that. But if I don't like a stud, I'm more inclined to, just include their dog in the pool. And whether that's definitely not Bonzi, but Lloyd Harris or even
why not Bonzi? He's another one that I like.
Really? You like Bonzi? Why?
All I'm doing is just choosing big servers.
Yeah, I like Bonzi. Big serve, 1-0 in the head-to-head market. I think he's a great tournament value.
I'm thinking GPP, right? So, Bryce, these guys that I'm telling you I love right now, don't throw them in our cash bill because there's a big chance that Bonzi.
Before Goffin, you could have played Bonzi in cash, to be honest. Slight guy underdogs who serve well are totally viable here. It's just I don't really think you need to go down that far. But it's really not the worst play. You'll see 10 times worse plays out there in cash than Benjamin Bonzi tomorrow. And his opponent's going to be popular in cash simply because he's 8.1 he's a favorite. That's just the way the pricing structure works out. So, if you're playing these single entry GPPs, I think Bonzi might be a great choice there because you'll be able to get some instant leverage.
Yeah, I will say this about his opponent. This is why, this is where it kind of gets that double-edged sword, right? I get the for Bonzi, but Harold Mayo, especially in qualifying and stuff, just had a match where he went 14 aces, 0 double faults in a 3-set match.
Yeah, no, I mean that's why he's a good cash play because he's a good server, slight men's favorite at 8.1. I'm probably playing him in cash, but he's not a massive favorite. So those are the type of guys that you can if you like the other side, you can take a leverage stand on, and even in GPP you can be over on both sides if you wanted to be. So we were talking about cash builds before the show. I definitely would not play anyone in the same match here. I wouldn't do that until probably the round of 8. But yeah, I think looking at these builds with Goffin more, because I kind of came in with the mindset that I wasn't playing anyone expensive. I think Fritz is definitely viable in cash.
AP, when you're looking at this value range, how are you setting up your player pool?
I like the guys that we talked about, like the guys with big serves down here, because it kind of up top, we're lacking that a little bit, that power outside of Bublik, who I will say, great tournament play, semi-tough opponent, and he does get to be volatile at times. So I get all of those things. I'm definitely going to be overweight, though, in tournaments because I do think he brings some upside, but there is some risk there, too. And I don't think I would play Mackenzie McDonald's. I don't think I'll get that far, especially if we have that Goffin piece there that we can really lean on. Just looking down here, I'm trying to think the farthest I would go as far as value. It would probably be on the women's side. I can't. So one thing, Diego Schwartzman, he can be one of the most frustrating players, but not a good history on grass. I hope people see the head-to-head record, and I hope he gets a little bit of ownership here because he's one of those guys that I'll be fine full fading due to his age, due to the record on grass. If it was hard courts, I'd probably have a different opinion on him. But I'm definitely more interested in for tournaments and taking a few stabs on some of the ladies down here. But again, if we have the Goffin value and then Bonzi, Gallon, those are three really nice plays. Halley's I kind of like him as well. I don't know if we need to go any further. I'm not going to play Stan Wawrinka. Could you guys get that far?
Cut it off at Molcan.
Molcan?
Is there anyone under 65 that I don't know?
It would be one of the ladies, but I guess the chat did say Venus beat my girl Gorgie. But it's a lower level event. I can't put much trust.
Someone who watched that match and was rooting for Venus, I'll tell you what, I didn't turn the TV off and go, boy, Venus is playing great. I just said, boy, Georgie sprayed, once again.
I'm surprised I wasn't watching that match.
How one-dimensional she is, because if she had any sort of just consistency at all.
She's a great player to watch. That's all I'll say.
Oh, fantastic. And this could be good because when she's on fire, she could beat almost anybody because she's going to hit winners that are unreturnable. I don't care who you are, even if you're Swiatek. But I personally wasn't impressed with Venus.
I would honestly cut it off right there or at Goffin. I don't see the need to go any further unless it was one of the ladies upsetting. But again, what I believe Rubio, you said Sloane Stevens going against her. I know our guy Matty Ice does as well, but can we trust Rebecca Peterson?
Sloane's another one that raises her level of play at the big events, I feel like, to me.
Yeah.
Where, I'll throw out her just middling all summer.
I kind of this is the thing with tournaments and stuff. I don't mind sprinkling 6%, 8% on some of these guys. And Wawrinka is going to be one of them. And we have always seen him as someone who can, serve a nice, get 15 aces or whatever. But I like the fact that he's had a month playoff. He doesn't need to play grass. What is the dude, 50 now? Or probably 38? 38. There you go. But I like going – we saw it with Andy Murray against Berrettini in the Australian Open. Murray came out, won 5 sets or whatever, but that could be enough. I mean, no one likes going below, especially golfing tomorrow at 6-8. No one's liking doing that. No one's ever really going to do that. You can really pinpoint a player who's going to get above 10% below golfing, and I don't really think that's the case. That's why I don't mind throwing darts, like even with the field. And like Wawrinka with a month of rest, like we all know his peak. I mean, we all know he's past it. I'm not going to say he's still in his prime or whatever, but would it really surprise us if he kicked ass in the first round and then kind of faded as the tournament went on? Like, like wins a 4-setter against Rusafori, and I like Rusafori too. I'm not like taking Rusafori out of my pool or anything because he's a low double faulter and he can get up on the board. But there's a guy coming in with like one win on grass this season, or one win in his last 4 events. Like, it's probably promising to go with one of these cheapies. I don't mind sprinkling them in. And Wawrinka, Rebecca Peterson, even a guy who just got a win. I think it's Stefulian against Bautista Agut. However the hell you pronounce that name, but he's someone who's a low double faulter who's already played in these qualifiers. That's something I look at for these cheap people is, did they play in qualifiers? I tend to carry weight a little bit there. They played on the surface. They played, they presumably won 3 matches to get here. And it always plays a little bit of a factor in my mind, especially for the ladies too.
I think that's a really good mention. I really like that mention too. You see it all the time, especially in these matches where it's kind of a toss-up.
Yeah, I mean, actually, we didn't have him on our sheet, but that's a great call there with Stefulian. Just from what I've seen of him, does have the game that you would think would translate well. And sometimes that doesn't work out, right? There's certain players where I say, oh, they should be really good on this surface, and they're simply not, and it's because they can't get comfortable for whatever reason. But yeah, that's a great call there. So there you have it. If you'd like to continue this conversation, of course, you gentlemen are going to be dropping your cores, and you're going to be in the Discord, and you say, hey, how do I get in this Discord? How do I discuss with Rubio on the heater? I can get his core. I can get some barber advice, right? It's all going down in the Discord. And of course, to become a member, it's runpuresports.com. And that promo code is summer33. AP, this is something we do on the NBA show.
Are we going to build a core? Is that what we're going to do?
We can build a little core right
let's
now.
do it. A 4-person core. GPP. We can't pick Goffin. That's the one rule. Everyone good with that? Rubio?
Yep.
Absolutely good.
You got to start us off then, Spread.
All right. You want me to start us off? Boy, I was loving Bublik, but you guys made some good points there of him at 9,800. Oh, gosh. I hate to do this because I'm such a big Venus fan. But I'm going to start us off with Alina Svitolina. And we're not necessarily playing on a player. We're fading a player. Venus Williams is 43 years old. Fantastic career. And she's just having fun traveling the world now. But going against a motivated Svitolina, who I'm sure out of all the players to really buy in to this hype is going to want to do well at this tournament because I'm sure she's not happy with Britain's overturning their decision and allowing Russian and Belarusian players. She's been very open, probably one of the most, her and Marta Kostyuk have been the most open speaking politically about this thing, and I expect her to be motivated. And that's all she's going to need to defeat Venus at this point in her career. We'll start us off. We'll put Alina Svitolina in the court.
I like
Rubio. Who you got for us, Rubio?
It might be a little bit cheating, but I love Lloyd Harris tomorrow. I think if he wins, he's going to have 70.
How is that cheating? I think a lot of times on when you're building these tennis bills, now it's not going to be the case because this thing is bigger, but grabbing that match where, we delineate between middle range and value on the Run Pure Sports playbook, promo code summer33, nailing that match a lot of times is the difference between winning and losing these tournaments.
I mean, exactly right. And if his name was John Isner, he'd be 15-20% higher, I think. I mean, I obviously, I think people are going to look and see, oh, man, this dude is a huge serve and doesn't double fault a lot. But I truly think if he was Isner, he'd be 60% instead of 40 or whatever.
All right, AP, we have plenty of money left on the table there, so don't be afraid to spend up. Who do you like for our third member of the score?
I got to go with Coco Gauff. In love with the Coco. I just got to – that's my favorite spend up, 10K. Feel very good about her coming into Wimbledon.
All right. Yeah, I can't complain with Coco. I spoke earlier about how I really like her matchup against Kenin. I believe that they're similar players, yet Coco just, her strengths are stronger than Kenin's strengths. at that same thing, especially in those backhand-to-backhand rallies. Can't wait to see that. Bryce, finish us off here.
I was going to steal Lloyd Harris, but we will go with Kecmanovic over Schwartzman. I just love fading Schwartzman on grass. He doesn't double fault a ton. You know, he can pick up an easy 3-0 for you here if he's on his game. And, you know, at 6.4K or 6.8K, sorry, he's not going to break the bank for what you're doing out there. So I will go him.
All right. And of course, there's plenty of ways to do a build. And you know, this is a great one to MME for sure. Sometimes on these smaller fields, you know, it's tough to really see the value in putting in all the entries. But with this huge field, you know, there's going to be crazy things that happen. That's one thing we know about the Grand Slams, right? They always do this thing, projected quarterfinals, right? And they put all the seeds in there, and it's usually like half of those players, right? You know, one of the reasons why I believe that tennis is fun, and especially fun to bet, is because the number of upsets you do get. And now more than ever, these players ranked between 10 and 100 are so close to each other. I don't think at any time in the history of the sport has the number 97 player been as close as skill and talent as it is to the number 12. So, of course, that lends itself to more upsets. Plenty of fun to be had at runpuresports.com. Use that promo code SUMMER33. But Rubio, it's not only tennis going on. And since you're on the heater, I'm going to let you let everyone know, because they're going to be the content they're looking for right now, right? They're going to want to get in on this winning too. What other sports are going on right now? And what are some other reasons that you should use that promo code SUMMER33 and become a member right now?
Yeah, I mean, hell, we're even doing a $1,000 giveaway for our boy Bryce. Third 33 is the code to use spread right now. We're giving away $1,000 on July 4th, believe it or not, to a random lucky member who uses code third 33, 33% off your first monthly or weekly purchase. But I'll say this, NBA Summer League is literally in 4 days. No one's going to have better Summer League content in the entire industry. We're going to have projections. We're going to have shows. We're going to have an entire playbook course, everything about it, right? And all of a sudden, you know, we got WNBA, we got soccer. The Women's World Cup is coming up this month. I don't care what you think, but it's a money machine. You get in on money machines, even if you don't like the sport. F1, soccer, MMA. We've completely revamped the MMA product. It's absolutely amazing. The fact that I was able to come in, MME, and just come a 1v1 away from the absolute optimal. Hell, man, it's great to see. And we also got everything with baseball, golf. We got the British Open, the Scottish Open as well. In the next 3 weeks or so. So this is going to be a lot of fun. Like, we're absolutely banging on all cylinders right now, and it's not going to slow down. Hey, best ball is just peaking right now. We got a ton of content for best ball coming your way. It's going to be behind a paywall too. It's the time to join. I mean, I'll tell you this right now, you know, we do best ball shit all the time, but talk about ROI that is worth playing. If you got the money to do it, and money to put away for a few months, like, the ROI is crazy. There's already so much edge in best ball. We have the best here at RPS. I'm not exaggerating when I say it. Sign up now. You're literally missing out. You know, don't wait till football. Sign up now.
All right, Bryce, why don't you get us out of here? Give some words of wisdom for the people, and then we'll sign off. And AP will talk after the show. We might be doing some more free content for the people, shows like this where we just get on, discuss, you know, give out some wild narratives, of course. But hey, Big T said it, and I believe it. You got to take a stand, and you're going to have to take a stand tomorrow. Bryce, newest member of the team. Get us out of here with some words of wisdom for the people, so they're ready to win some money as Wimbledon.
Well, first off, get in the Discord. We're going to be hanging out there the whole tournament, sweat matches and giving out winners there. A lot of my content's going to be there at the start. Secondly, don't be afraid to play a chalky David Goffin if you want to mix in some, you know, a little bit more off the board plays. And, you know, with 30 matches, you can take stands, you can make some fades. Probably, I would just look at double fault numbers and really try to avoid the big double faulters.
There you have it. RunPureSports.com, summer code 33. We will be back soon.